What's up, Raiders? Bionic here. Welcome to today's Raid Shadow Legends video, where we are going to talk about, once again, gear, but perhaps some underrated gear. Things that you might overlook early on, but as you progress to the end game, you'll start to realize that some of these pieces are actually very important. And what am I talking about? Well, much like the video that I had done on the gloves, where we covered crit rate gloves, even flat defense gloves, depending on the substat rolls, today we're going to do banners. I kind of always assumed that accuracy banners was going to be the go-to, the occasional attack, the occasional defense, but as it turns out, I'm using more and more different ones. Literally, almost all of them. All right, so let's jump into this right here. Let's go onto my account and I'll give you guys some examples and how exactly you might use this knowledge to better your account. Okay, so obviously a champion that has a lot of debuffs, or like a crowd control champion where you're relying on those debuffs for arena, would most likely need a lot of accuracy. All right, so a Torment, for example, obviously will be an accuracy banner. Makes a lot of sense, right? Because you're pushing in arena, therefore you're fighting against other players' resistance, and if they're stacking resistance, much I'm doing on like my Skull Lord, then you need a whole lot more accuracy to bypass this high resistance. Straightforward. Okay, so for that alone, I'd say accuracy continues to be probably one of the better banners overall. Every once in a while though, if we take Arbiter for example, I mean, she does have debuffs, but it's not her main function. It's all about speed. So regardless of the main stat, I'm gonna get whatever has the most amount of speed. Okay, so very situational, but you get this point as well. Then we have champions like Solas, where they do have some debuffs, all right, a stun, which is pretty good, removing some buffs, which is also pretty good, placing a provoke, placing another provoke, but also dealing a lot of damage. So on champions like this, you have to kind of pick what you want him to do, because let's face it, you're not going to have full legendary gear everywhere, kind of like mine right now, which isn't that great. I'm trying to get him to do some damage, but I also want him to have some accuracy for him to apply those debuffs, or at least remove some of those buffs as well from his skills. If you use him in the faction wars, it might differ a little bit, but pushing the PvE content, you want to be close to that 220, maybe 250 accuracy total for like the last stages of faction wars. That seems to be the sweet spot. But again, if this guy is going to be in arena, you need that much more. So on a champion like this, I am using an accuracy banner because I've managed to get a decent amount of damage from using a savage set. He's by no means exceptional, but again, this is not one of my main champions. Okay, so in this case, it's really up to you. I have tried this guy to literally have no accuracy and a defense banner, just push his damage up even further. Although he was hitting really hard, I found that I wasn't getting the best use of him. So on a champion like this, it's very hard to balance it out. In fact, there are a couple like this, and that's what I'm getting to today, is that on some champions, you need a basic amount of accuracy, but you also want them to be tankier or to hit harder. Two great examples are your poisoners, for example, against the clan boss, okay? And my two examples for that would be Frozen Banshee and my Occult Brawler. Now, I always geared those guys with accuracy banners, okay? Because you need to reach that 200 or so. But eventually, as you start getting crazy gear like this, okay, so very few of my champions have almost all legendary pieces. It's not fully maxed out, but like you'll kind of see what it's going to lead to once you have this quality of gear. It's the fact that I can use a defense banner. And what does that do? Well, on an attack champion that you're trying to get him to survive for as long as possible against the clan boss, this will go a very long way. A 6-star defense banner fully upgraded is like 400 defense. And that's not a small number. It's actually really good. Not to mention if you have, let's say, a 6-star defense amulet and eventually a 6-star ring. In this case, it's only 5 stars, depending on how many substat rolls you get for defense as well. Obviously, this will all come into play. But what this did for me, is that I can now use, of course, defense percent boots, okay, while remaining at the right speed. I do have defense gloves, but you can see that I'm stacking a lot of accuracy, and I fit in an attack percent chest. Now, you don't need to do this. I might get more out of him if he were to survive longer, but you also want him to deal as much damage as quickly as possible. So you want this guy to be tuned in terms of survivability with the rest of your team. And once you get that all your champions are dying at the same time against a clan boss, then you want to start pumping offensive stats, right? You want to get more damage out of him. So an accuracy or an attack, chest right here with good substat rolls made a lot of sense. In fact, this exact setup was on my Frozen Banshee before. And Frozen Banshee, if you look at the base defense of Occult Brawler right here compared to Frozen Banshee, we're looking at 826 compared to 1,000. So it's easier to stack more defense on Frozen Banshee. But when it comes to damage from her skills, or their skills, I think that Occult Brawler is better. Also the fact that I have too many undeads built on my account. I'm not using Frozen Banshee for anything in dungeons. I'm not using her for faction wars. So it was just kind of redundant to have yet another poisoner who isn't like double the performance of an Occult Brawler, if you know what I mean, okay? So I kind of moved this gear to this Occult Brawler, and I went with a defense banner because I'm able to add a lot of accuracy on the gear itself, okay? I say a lot, like obviously a couple good rolls, especially these gloves right here. They're a big chunk of it, I get it, but if you were to split up these substat rolls across all the gear pieces, then obviously it would balance itself out, right? Also, none on the boots right here, and I think we have a decent amount, or not that much actually, on the amulet, okay? So it's still a little bit low. I mean, I can play around with this. This is not that great, and I would hit that 220, maybe 240 threshold for me to have enough for the Ultra Nightmare Clan boss. Of course, the Great Hall does come into play. You have to factor all of this in, okay? I'm not saying this is new player friendly. I'm not saying this is free to play friendly. Again, I've been playing for a long time now, so these little things only become more obvious as I'm towards the end game, okay? And then we could take like a couple more examples here in my champions of some that I've been trying to use different types of banners, right? Skull Lord is a great example. This guy, his #1 job is to be very, very tanky, to have very high HP, higher resistance. Therefore, we're using on this guy a resistance banner. However, look at his base accuracy. I can still reach a decent amount of accuracy just by having substats rolls on the rest of the gear. Of course, here again, we do see slightly better quality of gear overall. And this is somewhat enough for Tag Arena, for this type of team overall. It is sufficient. I could have like 300 accuracy, don't get me wrong, it would be that much better, kind of like my Torment right now, but his main job is not to place debuffs, although it does help to have the A2 with the provoke a little bit more often. His #1 job is just to have high resistance, therefore a resistance banner on this guy. Then we have a couple more champions like this. This would be accuracy. It's really hard to get enough with these stats. Then we would have, what is it? I have another one right here, obviously Rosin accuracy for the clan boss, but like I would also like this guy to have a ton of resistance for my Tag Arena. I can't get it all, right? I can't get really solid defensive stats plus high resistance, plus high accuracy. So somewhere, something is gonna suffer, okay? And I have one more right here that I wanna show you guys, this Basilisk. Here again, kind of like working with lifesteal. This is faction wars only for the time being, and I decided to go with accuracy pieces because I'm starting to have some of them that have really good rolls, like these boots right here, double roll on accuracy, 6-star speed boots, which means I can use an attack banner to somewhat compensate for this. Also really good if you're running out of accuracy banners for that faction, right? So by mix and matching or getting pieces that have a lot of accuracy to start with, you are able to start thinking outside the box a little bit, all right? And again, this has somewhat become a little bit more obvious to me as I progress towards the end game, okay? I might have a couple more like this, or some champions, they literally just don't need accuracy overall, like a Doom Priest, right? So pretty straightforward that you knew, yeah, I am going to use like a defense banner on this champion. Makes a whole lot of sense, right? But every now and then, you're going to look to try and squeeze out maybe a little bit more from your champions. So much like the crit rate gloves, although they're not necessarily the best, crit damage continues to be the best. You might want to actually consider other types of banners, okay? Other champions, for example, that do not need accuracy on the banners makes a lot of sense. Okay, so you're going to use some HP, for example, or defense on the Skull Crusher, but whatever has the better substat rolls, right? So don't overlook all the banners because other people have said, you know, there might not be good, or like I don't typically build my champion with that. Again, it's all about a balance of the stats, and you never know the substat rolls you're going to get on the gear you're going to try and use, okay? So this is basically just a quick overview, again, sort of like examples on some champions that I don't necessarily use accuracy banners when you might think that that is the way to go. But the best example that I had for you guys today was really these poisoners right here for clan boss, trying to get better overall defensive stats on, like, say, the occult brawler. Once I finish the banner, the amulet, maybe a little bit more on the gear, maybe I'll get lucky, couple more glyphs, and I would finish the Great Hall. This guy would be very close to 4k defense, I'll say about 3.8k, close to 3k attack, and then decent offensive stats while having that minimal amount of accuracy to land the poison debuffs, okay? So for long term, guys, you can try to work this, but again, not easy to accomplish. I get it. Anyway, that's basically it. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Which type of banner do you think you are using the most right now? For a while, I was gonna say definitely accuracy, but nowadays I think it's a little bit different. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you guys later.